Josh Green here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined by Mikaela Mayer here ahead of January 20th against Natasha Jonas. Big opportunity for yourself and a big fight in your career. Where do you rank it amongst the fights you've had in the professional ranks?
It's interesting for me because I'm coming in here as technically the challenger, the underdog, right? I don't have any belts, so I feel like I've had more to lose before, but I also feel like I have so much to gain at this point. And it's definitely one of the best opponents that I've gone up, on paper, from what she's accomplished. We both have such a strong amateur pedigree, both been in big world title fights. But this is definitely up there, top 2 or 3 big fights I've had. And these are the type of fights I want to be a part of. So I'm excited to be back in this position. It's been a little bit of a slow year for me, and I don't like that. I want to be here.
You talked about the ease of making this fight. It's not always like that. Is that refreshing that you could just give something to your team, or Tasha could give it to her team, and it was just a yes, 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 and everything was ticked off so easily?
Yeah, it is refreshing. I feel like I haven't struggled too much to get the fights that I wanted, but this was definitely easy because the not getting the fights that I wanted in the past didn't have to do with the fighter. It just had to do with me not being in position, or I wanted Katie Taylor, but she was tied up. I wanted Chantelle Cameron, but she was tied up. And so the first thought of fighting Natasha Jonas is because she wasn't tied up. She didn't have a rematch clause or anyone that she was already set to fight, and she had just gotten a belt. And so it was an opportunity, and then when we confronted her with it, she was game for it. So just, 2 things tick the box, and we just made it happen.
I believe you were mandatory for Katie Taylor at 135. Why the decision to go for this and rather than pursue that?
Because I'd still be sitting there at 135 hungry waiting for Katie Taylor. And a good thing I didn't, right? Because she has all these other fights, again, tied up, busy. And also 135 was still a huge cut for me. My body was not going to let me stay at 135. It was 5 pounds more than 130. It was just the second I let my body fill out a little bit, it just kept going. So not possible.
How much does the weight play into this fight? You've set up there, you're comfortable, it's the best you feel in your camp. How do you feel Natasha will be feeling ahead of this?
So I've always felt good in the fights. Where I struggled was in the training camps. But by the time the fight came around, I was fine. I'd been used to the weight. I'd been refueled after weigh-ins, and I felt fine. I always felt fine in the fights. But I think the biggest thing for me this camp is it's more mental, because I've enjoyed camp so much, and I'm feeling so good throughout camp. And so, and I'm learning new things. I'm doing new things. I'm not just surviving because I'm exhausted, right? I'm thinking now, and so it's fun, and I feel good mentally.
One thing that came up during the press conference was the fact it's in Liverpool. There's going to be 8,000-9,000 Scousers in there. I'm sure it's an atmosphere that you've tasted before, but with Natasha Jonas in the ring, how do you think it's going to feel walking out to the ring?
I don't know. I'm hoping I know I have fans out here. I'm just hoping they're really loud for me that day, because I know Natasha Jonas is going to have the crowd screaming her name. And that could play a part when it comes to the judges being swayed a little bit. So, there's that. But honestly, it's all a blur. When I walk to the ring, I'm really not focused on anything. It's all a blur to me. I'm walking straight to those ropes, and when the bell rings, it all kind of goes out the window, and you're just zoned in on the fight. And I know that from experience, so that's what I'm going to stay focused on.
Is that a worry at all, the judges? Because we are seemingly seeing more and more quote-unquote robberies and decisions that maybe you wouldn't expect to see. You coming over here, is that a worry?
It's always a slight worry in boxing. You just never know. The judging is so subjective that it's always a thing that could possibly happen. So my job is to just make every round clear as possible.
I do want to talk to you a little bit about the weekend and Katie Taylor and Chantelle Cameron. First of all, that first round, knockdown or no knockdown, what were your views on that?
I thought it was a knockdown. I did. It was a jab, I believe, but so not the normal punch that you'd knock somebody down with. And maybe they just didn't want to. It was so soon in the fight that maybe they didn't want to, make that dent in the scoring so fast. But I think it was a knockdown, and I don't know how that would have changed the fight. But it's a bummer she didn't get that.
Do you believe that could change in terms of not just momentum, but the actual scorecards at the end would look very different if that came out as a 10-8, say?
It would have changed the momentum. I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the fight because of the other scorecards. I think that Katie still would have gotten the decision, but it might have changed the momentum of the fight. They might have changed the way they fought the rest of the rounds or the rounds after that.
Where do you think Katie Taylor is in her career? You obviously want that shot at Katie Taylor. There's a little bit of a line at the moment, obviously, with Amanda in there, Chantelle Cameron trilogy. Where do you think she is?
I think we all were expecting Katie to sort of start to die down and end her career. I don't think any of us expected her to come back and put on that type of performance against Chantelle and make those type of adjustments because Chantelle was so dominant in the first fight, right? So that just proves that you can't put anything past Katie. Like, you can't. So who knows? She's going to do what she wants to do. I don't think she's going to retire anytime soon because she's got 2 big fights on her horizon that she can take, and then we'll see what she does from there because she has upcoming women too that really want to fight with her. I don't think they're in line for the fight. I think that if she was going to continue to fight after Chantelle and Serrano, it should be someone like me, but obviously I'm biased. But we'll see. I'm still always open to that fight. I've always dreamt of fighting Katie Taylor, but there's other girls now.
I just want to chat to you a little bit about Alycia Baumgardner, who's come out and done her own hair follicle test, and she's essentially cleared herself. What do you see in that? What do you believe that's come out of that?
I think we all know that you can't clear your own name. So I think everyone has similar thoughts on that, but she let her do her thing. She'll have to pay the price eventually, and so we just got to wait for the governing bodies to make their decision, but she's not my problem anymore.
And finally, a prediction for January the 20th.
It's going to be an action-packed fight, a strategic fight, a smart fight. You're going to see 2 women who are experienced veterans of this game, and it's going to be impressive because it's not often that you get women of this caliber going up against each other. I mean, it's happened several times in the past couple of years, which is why women's boxing is blowing up. But this is another big one. It's going to be great, and I'm going to win.
That's what we look forward to. Cheers, Mikaela.
Thanks.